Let God reign. This study over the next number of lessons takes us to Matthew 5 through 7, which is commonly referred to as the Sermon on the Mount. It contains some of the most quoted and oftentimes misquoted or misapplied scriptures in all of the Bible. In Matthew 5 through 7, Jesus deals with the ideal of what the kingdom of heaven is like and what God intended His reign in believers to be. At the end of this text, there's an interesting commentary verse that Matthew writes. He says in chapter 7, verses 28 and 29, "Now when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at His teaching because He taught," get this, "as one who had authority and not as their teachers of the law." Did you catch that? The people were amazed because He spoke with authority, which was obviously very different than what they were used to hearing from their teachers. What were those awe-inspiring words Jesus spoke so many years ago? How do they apply to us today? That is where this study will take us. This Sermon on the Mount occurred in the countryside of Capernaum, which is located in the northern part of Israel in the Galilean region near where the Sea of Galilee is. The terrain probably looks something very similar to where we are right now. Many people following Jesus, sitting along, if you could imagine people sitting all along this hillside here to get a glimpse and hear the words of this new rabbi that baffled the teachers of the law, confronted the Pharisees' hypocrisy, healed the sick, and spoke like one who knew what he was talking about. His audience, the ones he was speaking to, was not what you would think or expect from an up-and-coming rabbi looking to make a name for himself amongst the teachers and leaders in Israel. They were everyday people of Israel, the fishermen, the carpenters, the farmers, the herdsmen, those who struggled, those who needed hope, those that were destitute and poor, those who doubted, all looking to find favor with God because they were, after all, the children, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and heirs to the promise. Well, that's not all that were keeping an eye on Jesus. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law were watching Him closely as well. Who was this radical new teacher that was amassing such a following? What made Him so popular? Why was He giving them, the Jewish leadership, such a hard time? After all, didn't He know who they were and how they could help Him or hurt Him? One of the key concepts in the Sermon on the Mount, and really all of Matthew's Gospel, is the idea of kingdom. And this word of kingdom conjures up different meanings depending on where you lived or what your experiences may have been in your life or where you're watching this from. Matthew's meaning of kingdom is equated with the word reign. So when you hear the word kingdom, or hear the phrase kingdom of heaven, think the reign or the reign of heaven. The thought of the day was that the Messiah would come to restore the nation of Israel back to a previous glory that it had enjoyed under the kingship of David and Solomon. Jesus came, the Messiah came with a different message. He came saying in Matthew 4:17, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near." The kingdom of heaven is not about restoring the glory of the dead kings, but the reign of the living God in the lives of people. Jesus says some pretty radical things about the kingdom of heaven as He teaches the people. He says this, "You poor, mournful, meek people, you are the most blessed. I am going to reign in my kingdom through you. You are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. It is through you that my kingdom is coming and going to grow." Their response, who, us? What about the teachers of the law and the Pharisees? They know more and are better equipped. We're no one. They're more righteous than we are. To which Jesus replied that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will not see the reign or the kingdom of heaven. This was a say what moment for these folks. The righteousness of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law was placed on a pedestal for others to try and attain. Jesus said that your righteousness must surpass that to be in my kingdom. How? How is this even possible for us, everyday, ordinary Jewish people? As he teaches them in this section and in other sections and walks with them for 3 years, they will begin to understand that true righteousness isn't found in external actions alone, but starts with what is in the inside, in the heart. When one chooses to submit to the reign of God in their life, changes start to happen, but from the inside. And when the inside is clean, the outside will follow. It's a call not to conform to the burden the Jewish leadership had placed on the people, but a call to a changed life in the kingdom or the reign of heaven in their life. Jesus sits down to teach, the traditional posture of a teaching rabbi. It's an indication that it's time to get serious. What he gives them is not more burdens, but the true meaning of what God's law requires and the resulting righteousness. The message of the Sermon on the Mount is a challenging one, and at the same time gave hope to all that heard it. And the same is true for us today. The question is, are we ready to hear the challenge and take that challenging journey where this study will take us? The Sermon on the Mount is designed to produce true righteousness, and in doing so, will expose unrighteous attitudes and behaviors. There may be some toe-stepping moments as we study, and that's okay. In doing so, it will allow the kingdom of heaven to reign in your life like never before, just like it did when it was first preached so many years ago. So as we study, the challenge is, let God reign.